Season 7, Episode 2 of Game of Thrones was amazing. The thing that I noticed about this episode was there was a lot of people who were very critical of Daenerys.
In order to be able to introduce for the first time ever anywhere the 45th President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump.
For saying that she wanted Jon Snow to bend the knee. And to be honest, when I first heard this, my reaction was the same. But I watched it again and thought about it from her perspective. She doesn't know Jon Snow, other than the few words that Tyrion said. I mean, Tyrion vouched for Varys, and she has very mixed feelings about Varys. So when she said that, I understood that it's a position of she's queen, she doesn't know this guy, and that is the position that she has to take by default.
Send a raven north. Tell Jon Snow that his queen invites him to come to Dragonstone. And bend the knee.
Slaughtering all those men of yours has left a nasty crack in my leg, so kneeling will be hard.
He needs to come and bend the knee. He needs to come and pledge his allegiance. That, for her, makes sense. And for me, it makes sense as well. I don't like it, but that's because I know Jon Snow. But if I were in her position, I would do and say the exact same thing, and many other people would as well. It's an understandable reaction. You have a foreign king who you don't know, and Daenerys has learned that you can't just trust what other people say, and you can't just assume that this person has your best intentions. He needs to pledge his loyalty to you in order for you to be able to go and have a relationship going forward, because again, you don't know him. That was the explanation as to why Daenerys said what she said and why what she said was totally justifiable. Now, I still don't like it. I still don't like that approach because I know Jon Snow. He's been a character since episode 1. You get attached to a character like this, who's relatable, he's brave, he's everything that a main character should be, coming from nothing origins, and it's very compelling. He's had quite a journey. Commander of the Night's Watch, King in the North. Going from a bastard who wasn't even welcome in his own home to being Lord of Winterfell and King of the North, that is quite a journey, and I love it. And I do hope that Jon Snow does not bend the knee. This is what I was thinking instantly when I heard the conversation with the lords. If Jon Snow bends the knee, I don't think he'll be king in the north for very long. I say that because you have a group of lords who are being told by Jon Snow about this threat of the dead, but they've never seen it. They've never experienced it. So that threat is a foreign notion. That's something in the back of their mind. They're like, yeah, this could be dangerous. I trust Jon Snow when he says that the White Walkers are coming. I trust when he says that. But unless you've actually seen something like standing in front of the army and having this Night King raise his arms and having the dead reanimate in front of your eyes, you can't really convey that to another person. I could tell you about a horror movie. It's not going to have the same impact as you seeing it yourself. And unfortunately, these lords, they don't know that threat, but the threat that they do know, the threat that they do remember, is the Mad King. That is very real. That is something that they remember. That is real. That is tangible. When they think of Daenerys, the threat of Daenerys in their mind is more of a problem than the army of the dead, because they know that that could be a reality. Another Targaryen on the throne. And the North remember. They remember what happened to Jon's grandfather and his uncle. They remember that. That was horrible. They had to go to war over that. That was not some trivial dispute. That was something that changed the entire world. And so when you have these lords objecting to this, it's on a fear factor of 10, whereas the Nightwalkers is probably about a 7, because you can't truly appreciate a fear unless you've seen it, unless you've experienced it. And so I think that what's going to happen is if he bends the knee, even with all of the dragon glass they get, even with all of the benefits, I think it's going to cause a rift. I think that rift Littlefinger is going to jump on. I think that Sansa is going to be able to create a divide, because honestly, it's only a matter of time before Bran comes back and tells Sansa that Jon is not actually her brother. He's not Ned Stark's son. For Jon and for Sansa, that's going to be quite a revelation, and I think the Lords of the North are going to be very distrusting of Jon, because he's already gone against what they wanted. He's meeting with a Targaryen. He's very sympathetic, and how easy would it be for Sansa to say, look, he is the product of my aunt being raped by this Targaryen, and so that's why he's sympathetic to the Targaryen cause. I mean, that's a prediction, but honestly, it's not that far-fetched, and it's going to happen even quicker if he bends the knee. If he doesn't bend the knee, it could still happen, but it would be a lot more difficult to convince these lords to betray him. But if they feel that their interests are being put second to some foreign Targaryen queen, the daughter of the Mad King, I think it's going to go very badly for him. And I know that he has a tendency of doing what he thinks is best, but we saw how that turns out. And so I really hope that Jon doesn't bend the knee. I hope that he goes in there and he explains to her and they get to know each other, but he can't pledge himself to her that way. Unless, and this is what I'm hoping happens, they get married. If it's a marriage between these armies, because that is the only way to solidify this union. And I think that that's what's going to happen, but it can't happen if he bends the knee. I understand that there was a king in the north who bent the knee to a Targaryen in the past, but you can't compare the two. It's a different time. That was before you had the Mad King doing what he did to the Starks. And again, the North remembers. It'll probably be Tyrion who recommends marriage, because he understands the way politics work. And I think that he's going to be the voice of reason, where you have Daenerys, who's going to be very rigid, very cold. She doesn't know him. She's going to be very authoritative. I think that Jon Snow is going to be looking for help, but he's going to be firm. And then Tyrion is going to have to play his role and be the middleman and try to not necessarily play matchmaker, but to try to convince these two people that they do need to work together and to find a way to do that. And I think the ultimate conclusion is that they are going to get married. That's all I wanted to say on this. I'll talk about other things as they come, as they interest me, but this is something that I really was intrigued by, because the reaction to her saying that, I totally understood it, but it does make sense. And any one of us in her position would do the same, demanding that this guy you don't know, this king you don't know, even though people are saying, yeah, he's the best guy in the world, you would demand that he bend the knee. You would demand that he bow to you. Not necessarily out of arrogance, but more as a precautionary, let's make sure that this can work. Let's make sure that this guy isn't, Euron Greyjoy. Let's make sure that he's an actually good guy. Anyway, thanks for listening. Love Game of Thrones. We'll continue to watch it, and I will see you guys next time.